The Patriots might have just gotten some bad news amongst the AFC East. Why? Because not just one team, but two teams have now made roster moves that could affect the Patriots' regular season, and we're going to break that down here. But knowing that two teams in the AFC East are now making trades, does this mean the Patriots need to add somebody to be able to possibly compete with the other two teams? Well, we're going to break that down here on Chat Sports. I am your host, Allie Barefoot, and I have one quick question for you, and I would expect this number to be over 500, right? Do you think the Patriots should make a trade? Absolutely yes. For an offensive lineman, for an edge rusher, for a wide receiver, I don't care. Add something new to this roster. So hit that like button. I am genuinely expecting that number to be over 500. So all you guys got to do is hit that thumbs up button for me. Let's get you guys up to speed. So we do know that Davantae Adams was traded to the New York Jets. We knew this was kind of coming since Davantae Adams had pretty much already said the only team I want to play for is Aaron Rodgers and in New York. And we know that, the Raiders are kind of in the same boat with the Patriots right now. They're trying to figure out their quarterback situation and they kind of suck. But then, about in a couple hours after Davantae Adams got traded, Amari Cooper, very surprisingly, goes to the Buffalo Bills. We were talking about this just moments ago, thinking that Josh Allen is a for sure lock for MVP, and adding a wide receiver like Amari Cooper is now going to be very tough on the Patriots secondary. So overall, when you've got these two top 10 receivers, in my opinion, now coming to a very good program in the AFC Buffalo Bills, and then could possibly be a huge addition to the New York Jets, who are really trying to find their footing right now. I think it's kind of brutal. I think it is brutal for the New England Patriots, who are in a rebuild year, that now have to face Davantae Adams and Amari Cooper once for Davantae Adams, but now twice for Amari Cooper in their regular season. So I do think this does make both teams better. But I'm more concerned, and you guys should be too, about how the Patriots are going to respond. Will they end up taking a player from the Jets or maybe even the Raiders, knowing that they are actively looking for trades like a Max Crosby, Davantae Adams, or maybe even the Browns and Bills making some trades as well with Amari Cooper and Buffalo. But I am looking at two players from New York that I do think the Patriots should at least make a phone call on, that it won't drastically change their season like an Adams, like an Ayuk, or somebody like that, but it could make a big change in the long run. And the number one player I want to talk about here is the wide receiver Mike Williams. Why? Because when you get Davantae Adams, somebody has to go in the wide receiver group. And no, we're not going to get Allen Lazard, which is Tom Brady's right-hand man. We're not going to get Garrett Wilson, who surprisingly may now be wide receiver too in Aaron Rodgers' eyes. But Mike Williams, he's not the best receiver out there, right? Let's just be honest. But he can be a good resource for Drake May, who has a cannon of an arm. And we do have Jordan Schultz breaking down that momentarily after Davantae Adams was traded to the Jets, they did say they are now available and open to shopping Mike Williams out for a trade. Once again, the Patriots may not want to make a trade at all because they want to keep their draft stock. But knowing the receiver room now has a quarterback that can actually throw, we know that he can make plays on the move, I think that it would be worth the while to take a look at the wide receiver that could make our roster just a tiny bit better, because that's what the Jets did. The Jets made their roster a lot better. And not to mention, this is a divisional opponent. And this now becomes pretty scary for the Patriots to take on the Jets, I believe, not this weekend, but the next weekend at home. Davantae Adams is now your wide receiver 1. Garrett Wilson, your 2. Lazard, your 3. Mike Williams now moves down the list, and now he's sitting at about wide receiver 4. So he moves down a spot. But when you look at the Patriots receiver room, we don't have a big name. We don't have an Ayuk or an Adams, although we did try. And I do think that Pop Douglas is still going to be your wide receiver 1 here, but Mike Williams adds something here that I don't think any 5 players have, and that's a end zone threat. I think Mike Williams does very good climbing the ladder, which could be very beneficial for a quarterback that we saw several times in his debut has a tendency to overthrow it because he does have an extremely strong arm. So when you take a look at a guy like Mike Williams, obviously he's not super flashy on the box score. 10 receptions so far in Aaron Rodgers type of offense. 17 targets though, which still isn't bad in 6 games, knowing that he's got Allen Lazard and Garrett Wilson. And 145 yards, but still has yet to reach the end zone for the New York Jets. But let's dive a little bit deeper here into what Mike Williams could possibly bring to the New England Patriots, knowing that this guy's a veteran, right? And we've been pretty thin in the veteran room and the wide receiver room for the entire season right now. And that's okay. That's what happens with a rebuild year. But playing for the Chargers for 8 seasons, this is his first year with a new team, and that being New York. And now knowing this is the first year they have a new quarterback and Aaron Rodgers, because last year just doesn't really count to me, you've now got a 30-year-old that is trying to adapt to a new system, which is why I think he could be a good fit in a developing system. Plus, like I said earlier, he really excels at climbing the ladder, and he's a deep ball, a go route in zone threat. Well, Drake May has the arm to do that. If you pair Mike Williams with Jacoby Brissett, you're probably going to be wasting Mike Williams, knowing that Jacoby doesn't throw it more than 20 yards. And he's a 2-time 1,000-yard receiver. It's been a couple years since he did reach that 1,000-yard mark, but knowing the Patriots did not have one 1,000-yard receiver last year, it's nice to have somebody have that in their repertoire. But overall, when I look at a guy like Mike Williams, I just think that it's a good move if you really want to just kind of upgrade your wide receiver room right now, but knowing that it's may hurt your draft stock and knowing that it's not going to be so much of a big move that it's going to help you win the next 7 games on your roster, I'm not 100% set on Mike Williams. I think he's fine, but I do think that I'd rather develop our wide receiver room than just take somebody else in and take away targets and receptions from Pop Douglas, from Kayshon Boutte, from Jalen Polk, Kendrick Bourne. And yes, the veteran experience would be great. But I'd rather have a veteran that has more consistent hands and you can use him on first downs. Patriots struggle just even getting the first down, let alone getting a touchdown. So would I be mad at it? No. But here's what we would have to give up. That's probably why I wouldn't be so mad at it if Mike Williams did come to New England, is the fact that you would probably have to drop one wide receiver to make room on the 53-man roster. That would be Tyquan Thornton. I'm not a huge fan of Thornton anyway, so, it'd be kind of an upgrade in the wide receiver room. But you do give up a late-round draft pick, and I know the Patriots are obviously trying to rebuild in the next upcoming year. So you would give away I put 2026 7th-round picks depending on what the New York Jets want. They may want one next year's draft as well for Mike Williams, but this isn't a very hot commodity, so I do think we can get him for cheap, but do we want to keep that draft stock? So I have a question here for you guys. Do you want Mike Williams as a New England Patriot? If you do, like the video for me. It's that simple. We already know you guys probably want to make a trade. Does it seem like Mike Williams is the right fit for New England and for Drake May? Up next, I am going to break down another trade target here on Patriots Today by Chat Sports. You guys are going to want to stick around with this time on the defensive side of the football. But first, I do want to tell you guys about Game Time. Game Time is the #1 app that I go to whenever I'm trying to get tickets to any sporting event, concert, comedy show, or maybe even the theater. I love musicals. I love plays. A fun fact about me. So having something like Game Time and knowing that I can get the best price guaranteed at the lowest price guaranteed, and I can also see the view from my seat before I have to buy it in the app. There are several reasons why I use Game Time, but the #1 feature is Game Time picks. I think this is such a great feature in the fact that they just rule out all of the fluff and they show you only the best deals on the best seats, making sure that you're not searching through thousands and thousands of tickets and wasting your time. And then when you do find the seat that works for you, you get to see if that view is what you want. You know you're getting the lowest price guaranteed, and the total that you see is a total you will pay. No surprise hidden fees at checkout, which is another great factor which you can have with Game Time. So if you guys want to get started, all you have got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today because what time is it? It's game time. Haason Reddick. Should the Patriots go out and trade for Haason Reddick? We know the edge rushing position hasn't been as dominant on New England's roster as we've seen the last few years. Why? Matthew Judon is gone. And yes, Keion White had a huge hot start to the NFL season. But since then, he's allowed Josh Uche, Anthony Jennings to really step up and kind of be more explosive than he does. And I do feel like if you were to pair somebody like Keion White and Haason Reddick on either ends, you are now getting a much more explosive edge room for New England. And Diana Rossini put this out right after Davantae Adams got traded to the Jets, saying the Jets have now given Haason Reddick and his reps a short window to seek a trade, so this isn't going to be forever. His new representation, Drew Rosenhaus, has been reaching out to teams over the last 12 hours to gauge interest, and it doesn't seem like the Patriots would probably be very high on that list, whereas you have people like the Detroit Lions, who just lost Aiden Hutchinson. You have Super Bowl contenders like the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Patriots have money, and that's what Haason Reddick is looking for. Reddick hasn't played all year. He has not played in 2024. And why, you ask? Because he's had double-digit sacks the last 4 seasons. He's obviously a huge asset on defense. Why hasn't this guy played? He wants money. And to really break down a guy like Haason Reddick, he was a top 20 ranked PFF edge rusher in the preseason. He averaged 12.6 sacks over the last 4 seasons. That would make up for Matthew Judon's type of production in the last 2 seasons that we saw him with the Patriots. And really, the Patriots are 24th in pass rushing right now. Haason Reddick would easily take us back to the top 20, maybe even back into the top 15. Kayshon Boutte, he's a good player, but he's a second-year player. Knowing that you're going to have a 30-year-old on that line there with him, I think that increases your pass rush tremendously. And even may take a little bit off the run defense as well. But we know that Reddick is holding out for a contract. Well, we've been through that before. So the Patriots having over $40 million in cap space sounds like the situation with a 12-hour window of getting Haason Reddick or not getting Haason Reddick. You can not only take over his contract right now, but you can sign him to the years coming, which would be a great asset in a rebuilding team that is going to spend their draft picks on offensive weapons like tackles, like wide receivers. So I do think that he was set to make $14.2 million, but it was a non-guaranteed base salary. And the reason why everything kind of fizzled out is that he was looking for an extension with Philadelphia. Philadelphia didn't give that to him. He goes to the Jets. Now the Jets aren't going to give that to him. So why not the Patriots? Because honestly, it's giving Matthew Judon. Remember that? Remember all offseason, Judon wanted to get paid, and the Patriots offered him something, and he turned it down. Well, if maybe they offer Haason Reddick, and it seems to be something this 30-year-old wants, Haason Reddick would want to come play for the albeit struggling Patriots that are in a rebuild year. And because he hasn't played all year, and because he is a veteran, his stock goes down. I would say a 4th-round pick, which is kind of a lot. You know, you have to think you got somebody like you got somebody like Layden Robinson in the 4th round last year, which is an offensive lineman, so that could be very beneficial for the Patriots moving forward in the NFL draft. But ultimately, you get an edge right now that increases and helps your defense that has been struggling the last 4 weeks of the NFL season. My last question here for you guys is, do you want Haason Reddick? He's been around forever. I know you guys know him. I don't need to break down any more stats to this guy. But if you guys want Haason Reddick on the line with Kayshon Boutte, which I think would be dominant, type Y for yes, type N for no. And if anything happens with Haason Reddick or Mike Williams or the Patriots making a trade, we got you covered right here. All you got to do is subscribe.